Good afternoon. I'm Jim Holleran, Executive Vice President of Entertainment at Reach Agency in Los Angeles. Over the next 60 minutes, I will be moderating a discussion around changing behavior in content consumption. Due to the prolonged effects of COVID-19 pandemic, so many Americans, as well as the rest of the world, have been required to spend more time isolating in their personal residence. As a consequence, consumer consumption habits have shifted considerably. Here are a couple amazing facts. Since COVID-19 began, TV viewership is up an amazing 42%. And if you thought you were active on social media, adults between the ages 24 and 55 have increased their amount of time on social media by 24%. And time spent consuming media has grown by over an hour to up to 13 hours per day. That's more than half of your life is spent on social media. Today, I'm pleased to be joined by 4 senior executives whose professional lives center around distribution, content, and live events. First of all, Russell Silvers, Chief Operating Officer of Global Partnerships at AEG. Russell manages over $2 billion in contributed income across 130 business units at AEG. Second, Gabe Gordon, co-founder of the Reach Agency. Reach Agency was recently named by Ad Age Small Agency of the Year. Prior to Reach, Gabe was a content strategist at PepsiCo and also worked at William Morris for 9 years. Third, we have Michael Parent, Senior Vice President of Media, Strategy, and Operations at MediaOcean. And finally, my friend, Nicole Sedita, Senior Vice President of Global Partnerships, Product Integrations at Lionsgate Films. Welcome, all panelists, and thank you for joining us today. With that, let's get started. I'll start with you, Russell. COVID-19 has changed the consumption of media and live events right before our eyes. How might these shifts be permanent? And once COVID is finally behind us, will these shifts continue, Russell?
James, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here today. There's definitely been some permanent things that we will shift into the future with post-COVID that we have learned while we've been in quarantine. As venue owners and venue operators, I will tell you that technology is at the forefront of all of our discussions every single day. Were these things that we were talking about pre-COVID? Absolutely. Were these things that we were going to do as quickly as we are going to do post-COVID? Probably not, but we're in the situation now that from a venue operator and ownership perspective, what we're looking to do is transform a lot of our venues contactless and cashless. We are looking to try to figure out ways that we can create more or less frequent touch points throughout our venues to allow for the patrons and the ticket buyers that are coming into our buildings every single night to feel and be safer. These are going to be measures that we're going to take across all of our properties globally. And we believe that it's going to allow for us to create a roadmap and a runway into the future to make everybody that was going to our venues before feel just as safe and most likely safer than they were, without compromising the experience that really is second to none when you come to our properties throughout the globe at AEG. So I do believe that there's going to be a seismic shift for AEG. The shift is going to be technologically and how we're going to create an experience for the fans. It's not going to compromise what was, but it's going to allow for something safer, smarter, and better in the future.
Thank you very much, Russell. Well done. I'm going to shift over to Gabe Gordon with Reach Agency. And during COVID, Netflix has been on fire. Eyes are on Netflix. Who's going to disrupt Netflix? Is it going to be Quibi continuing to grow, or is it going to be someone else? What's going to be the new norm? And who are the new players in this highly competitive streaming environment?
Thanks, Jimmy. Yeah, I feel like everybody's been Netflix and chilling for the past 6 months. But look, I think we're talking about share of eyeballs here, right? And, you know, I'd argue that Netflix has sort of already been disrupted a little bit. You know, people watch Netflix on average for 50 minutes a day. People are spending 53 minutes a day on Instagram. TikTok, which is, you know, pretty new to the US, people are spending 52 minutes a day on that. Obviously, there's different audience groups that are spending the time with those different platforms, but there are some competitors. And, you know, look, if you look at it from a streaming standpoint, Netflix is killing it, right? There are new entrants that are really prone for success. Peacock, Disney Plus, HBO Max really have that basis to really be a strong competitor there. But yeah, look, social platforms are eating away, if not equal already. Quibi, you know, it's interesting. You know, I think the idea of what Quibi was going for, the growth of sort of mid-form content, I think is here to stay, and it's going to be a huge growth area. You know, there has been obviously longer form content than Netflix. The social channels have been really great at shorter form content, but that mid-form content, I think, is prone for a lot of big growth. Whether it's just going to be Quibi or it's going to be a lot of different studios making that mid-form content, that's still yet to be seen.
I'm sure you have a lot more to say on that, Gabe. You know this subject very, very well. You live it every day, and thank you for that great response. I'm going to shift over to Michael and the impact of 5G on content consumption. Michael, what do you think? What do you think's going on with 5G and content consumption, and how quickly is this going to be adopted into the environment?
Yes, well, 5G is really going to increase the speeds at which people can download media and consumption. I mean, 5G is going to increase 10 times the speed versus 4G. That means a movie can be downloaded in 10 seconds versus several minutes right now. It's just going to, and it also opens up all the content available to through cloud services. So again, greater access and more accessibility and greater speeds at downloading things. There's also going to be an explosion in technology to accompany what's going on with the 5G. More services, greater accesses, more devices per household can now be used. So content creation, content downloading is going to be just exploding. The internet, what we've seen is also going to happen is home internet is going to be upgraded. And this is being accelerated by the fact that with more people working from home, their homes weren't set up to handle the amount of content we're doing working at home. So that's also pushing the providers to create some more 5G outlets. One of the things we're also seeing is along with the speeds, we'll see now finally we'll start to see AR and VR become actually something people can use and play with. They'll have the speeds and it'll actually be a good experience for them. The big three providers are Verizon, T-Mobile, AT&T. They're going to be driving the access. I don't know if you watched any football this weekend, you would have thought 5G from Verizon is available everywhere. They ran so many spots, so many commercials about their 5G network. And really what is going to be driving this is each provider has a different strategy behind how they're going to distribute 5G. Verizon is going for the major cities, and that's where we're going to find the fastest adoption from Verizon. AT&T and T-Mobile are using a little different strategy where they're going to have a lower broadband usage, and that's going to be more broad geographically, so they can spread it out a little more that way. I think, but what's going to happen is definitely the content increase in content consumption, and then people are going to be pushing the providers to increase their 5G acceptance.
Thank you for the insight on 5G, Michael. Much appreciated. Now, Nicole, and with 5G, I'm looking forward to those movies being downloaded that quickly before I jump on an airplane. Remember trying to load Superbad at JFK and it not making it for the flight and how disappointed I was. Anyways, I'm going to shift over to Nicole here. And Nicole, we have a multitude of distribution channels and a growing number of content creators for short form and traditional films. What do you think is going to make this given form of content break through?
Thanks, Jimmy, for having me, and then also asking the most impossible question for me. Saving that for me. I think if I had the 100% answer, I'd be the Jeff Bezos of marketing. But that being said, to Gabe's point of, not only is there a lot of distribution channels and where you can find content, there is additional, there's just content everywhere and different types of content, short form, long form, mini series, etc. There goes my dogs. And I think at the end of the day, I mean, there's a lot of, a lot of the streamers and a lot of the tech companies, they're researching and they're using algorithms, and they're seeing what all the consumers are consuming and what they're watching and how they're watching. And so a lot of the data that they're collecting and information from that perspective, they're using to try to identify what types of content is resonating with them and trying to feed them more of that similar types of content that they would respond to. From a marketing perspective, there's so many different distribution ways to get to people from an advertising perspective as well. I'm a purist at heart, so I would say great story and good content and great content, people are gonna, respond to, and that could be from any, it could be a short form to long form. And I think we've seen anomalies along the way in terms of, would Tiger King be as successful if we were, a couple of weeks into a quarantine lockdown? So, there's those lightning in the bottle moments, but also there's, just really great storytelling out there. And it's just trying to make sure that we can get those people to see those content. But I'm from a purist perspective, I think great stories will break through.
I 100% agree with you, Nicole. The storytelling and the content will drive the distribution eventually. So thank you for that input. Very well said. Russell, we're going to shift back to you, my friend. How do you see live entertainment evolving into the integrated experiences that include music, art, sports, brand activations? And as we climb out of COVID, what's the new norm? What do you think, Reddy?
Yeah, well, if history's told us anything, it's that live entertainment has a way of bringing everyone together, especially during times of crisis. And that includes music, that includes art, and sports, all of which are becoming increasingly strong passion points for marketers to connect with fans. And I think that that's going to be something that you saw pre-COVID and you're going to see post, but it's going to reemerge stronger than ever before. The one thing that I would tell you that I think is going to, the way that the shift is going to happen, especially from a brand activation standpoint, post-COVID, we're most likely going to see hybrid events that combine both online and offline channels. So we'll see a fusion. You're really going to see kind of the intersection of live events and digital events being immersive into kind of a layered technology experience that we haven't seen before. We just hosted the first digital event this past weekend at LA Live. It was the Lexus All-Star Chef Classic, and it went off extremely well. It's an event that we host at LA Live every year. It's a high-end kind of fine culinary event that we host in the event deck. And obviously, because of the pandemic, we shifted our focus and we made the event digital. And we were able to create specific and bespoke activations for our partners and for those that bought into the event. We were able to actually deliver in a very safe manner pre-made meals to them, and they were able to follow along with these fine culinary chefs while they were in a studio, 30 miles away. So I think that you're going to see technology again. I know I brought that up in my first answer, but you're going to see technology really taking on, and I don't want to say the burden, but they're going to take on the amplification of live events into the future. And we're really going to piggyback that as we start seeing us reemerging from our homes and back into stadiums and back into live sporting events and music and art events as well.
Well said, Russell. I know we talked off camera earlier about wanting to get back to live events and to hockey games and Laker games at Staples Center and how fun they are, and how you don't want to be sitting 3 seats away from everyone. You want to be with your buddies. You want to be with Nicole. You want to be having a cold beer watching an event. And I can't wait for that day to come. And I know safety is of utmost importance for everyone, and it won't happen until then. But it's great to see that AEG is taking these steps and always has. So well done. I'm going to shift over to Gabe right now and talk about half of our lives again is being spent on devices, whether it's your computer or your phone or your television, and what this means and the multiple media devices. And is this going to continue to grow? Are we going to have this growth? And at what point are people going to push back? And, where are we going to go with this? Can this keep going in the manner that it is these days, Gabe? What are your thoughts?
I think if there's a doctor on this panel, we'd get a much different perspective on that answer. But look, I think, Michael made a great point about 5G, and Jimmy, your example of like not being able to download a video before going on a plane is a great example that the convenience is there where you can download full movies in such a short time. And you can watch out on any device. You don't just have to be home. You can be on your phone. You can be on a tablet. You can be at work, I think what's happened though is with video and with that convenience, the utility of content has changed. So it used to be very much just entertainment based, but if you just take even, the past 6 months with COVID, people learn to be chefs and cook through content now on these devices. They're reorganizing their homes. They are now, if you look at medical doctors, telehealth is huge through video and through these devices. Same with our kids and getting their education all through these screens. So it's grown immensely, but I think where it has grown is where entertainment was really the leader in that area. Video, where there's gonna be some blurring of those lines when it comes to education and more utility-based content that will blend into our lives on these devices with video.
Beautiful. Thank you, Gabe. Michael, I'm going to shift back to you on this one. And we're all in the business of partnerships, and we have clients, and we have different contact points as we do business on a day-to-day basis. But how are your clients adapting to this change in behavior and content consumption? And with that, are you seeing a shift in the media mix that's significant?
Yes, we're doing a lot more video. I mean, everyone wants to create content and distribute it, whereas it used to be expensive or cost prohibitive, or a very limited amount of different sources that we could go to. Now, video is probably 40 to 50% of every media mix that we are talking to clients about. And it's all sorts of different types. It's the short form as well as the long form. So we're running for clients, they might have a 2-minute instructional video that communicates with people, or they might be doing a 6-second TikTok or Snapchat video to get their point across. And what we're seeing is that it's just, and also what it's brought the cost down for all the different providers, but also the content development. It's okay now it's okay to go out with a not perfect product. I mean, it used to be the days like, so for Gabe at PepsiCo, I mean, you had a $2 million shoot for a 30-second spot, but now it's just a handheld device, create an Ocean Spray commercial with lip syncing Dream and getting 54 million views. So now there's actually, there's a whole thing growing around how to use TikTok now for brands. It's all about the consumption, and everybody loves video. We talked about it earlier, 13 hours a day with media, the fact that we can get it faster. It's on your mobile device. Desktops have actually seen a resurgence since we've been working from home. where everybody thought the desktop was dead. No, it's actually coming back now. People are more on their desktop now than they used to be. But yeah, it's all about the video and getting into the mix and streaming everything. So, and there's so many options out there. It's mind blowing. Different companies that are coming together, selling different types of videos, different metrics you can report upon, trackability. It's really changed the way we are doing things.
Michael, I think you're absolutely onto something with those perfect imperfections. I think that your video content it's great when it's real, and people appreciate that, and consumers appreciate that across the board. Nicole, back to you, my friend. With the pending third wave, I don't even know if it's the third wave or the second wave or what it is of coronavirus that public officials are announcing these days. Are there going to be more rollbacks at movie theaters and the delay in opening? I know some areas are starting to open them, and I heard AMC theaters are going to open to groups where you can rent out the theater for $99. What do you think is going to go on with movie theaters in the U.S.? And, how is Lionsgate, particularly your studio, kind of adapting to the not knowing of when these theaters are going to be there and releasing your major motion pictures?
Thanks, Jimmy. I think as it pertains to the theaters opening, I mean, that's everyone's best guess. We're all very eager and anxious for the theaters to be back open, just as, Russell is hoping to get, the venues up and running too. So, we're all hoping that there's going to be, access in some capacity, particularly on the theater side, and from a national perspective or in even a global perspective. So until then, Lionsgate has been very aggressive in the way that we look at our content. We have, in fact, the weekend that we did go on the national lockdown, March 13th, we released a movie in theaters. It was our opening weekend. And albeit, theaters were still open technically, consumers were still hesitant to go to the theaters, but we ran the release in the theaters for 2 weeks, and then we quickly were able to pivot and take that movie to premium VOD. And I think because Lionsgate is such a very aggressive and agile studio, that we're able to make those kind of pivots and be able to take a movie that we did such a tremendous job of marketing and effort, and it was a wonderful movie. It was called I Still Believe, and then just parlay that into a premium VOD at a perfect time when people couldn't get out into theaters. It was a huge success for us. And now, here we are 6-7 months later. We're looking at our content. We have identified films that we are actively waiting for. We have some release dates, planned out and actively waiting and hoping that we can bring those movies to theaters. But we're also looking at other opportunities. Is it looking at, package them up and offering them up to the streamers? Is it putting them out on premium VOD directly, which we most recently did as well with a film called Antebellum, which is a film that we really wanted to have out there in the marketplace, certainly from a theatrical perspective, but given the content and the social message it was carrying, we felt like it was a great time for us to have that movie out and out there now. So as our studio, we treated it as almost a theatrical release in the premium VOD space. And that came with a really good success rate as well. So from our perspective, we're looking at content. We want it to be in theaters, but we're also looking at the other ways, because at the end of the day, we're a great content provider and producer, but we want to be able to make sure that consumers can see and enjoy this content. So we're open to the ways in which that consumers can see that. So and I think that because the Lionsgate leadership has been very aggressive and entrepreneurial that we're one of the studios that's able to do that in this space and be able to be flexible from that perspective. So we're just going to continue to kind of grind in that way to continue to entertain the world, if you will.
Well, I can't wait to get back into the movie theater. I enjoy all movies, particularly Lionsgate movies. The John Wick franchise is one of my favorites, and looking forward to the next one. And I've heard they're possibly in pre-production for another John Wick. So we look forward to a great Lionsgate film and a great experience eventually back in theaters. I think we're going to go back to you now, Russell, and talk about the experience era. The youth of today love the experience, and everything revolves around experiential. And how are your partners that you work with, all your corporate partners at AEG, how are they evolving in this area to make sure their business models kind of reflect that experience of the era?
Yeah, Jimmy, I could talk about this all day, so cut me off when you want. But our model within global partnerships is we always want to build experiential activations that are part of a long-term strategy. We don't want to look at telling a quick story. We want to tell something that will kind of whether permeate through an entire season or through the entire life of a partnership. We want to grow that activation and grow those experiences all the time. The one thing that I will tell you that there's two kind of verticals I want to talk about. I'll try to get through them quickly. The first is what I've started seeing over the last few years are brands are taking a different approach on how they're endorsing or not endorsing some of their products. And what I mean by that is I feel like I'm seeing less partners endorsing big time athletes or musicians. And instead what they're doing is they're creating really customized and unique activations in venues and with teams and at festivals that are allowing for the fan goer, the ticket buyer, or the festival goer to become the brand ambassador organically for the brand. So when you're having said partner create a once in a lifetime experience at Staples Center or at one of our festivals or with one of our teams, that but for that brand, you wouldn't have that experience. And now that customer, that ticket buyer goes out and shares that across all of his or her social platforms. And then those friends see the experience and like it, dislike it, whatever it may be. You're organically messaging that one activation to so many people, as opposed to doing it by saying, I'm going to endorse an athlete or a musician. And not saying that those are not still extremely valuable parts of the sponsorship world, but I just feel like there's been that shift as of late where the brand ambassador is all of us. It's the people that are going to the events. We are telling the story on behalf of the brand now, and we're telling it so organically that it's really getting the buy-in from our friends and then the friends' friends to go to either the venues, go to those festivals, go see the teams, and experience that brand's products in a way that's not, how it has been in the past. And the other thing, that's vertical one. And the second one is data. What you're seeing now is partners and brands are becoming very, very smart in how they're monetizing data and how they're researching data so they could really hyper and focus target a specific group of people. Whereas before you were kind of throwing messages against a wall and you were hoping that it stuck enough times for that brand to be successful. Now through data, you can really focus onto a certain core group of people in a way that you really weren't able to before and really message them in a unique way, all the while doing a completely different message to a different demographic of people, even though it's the same brand, in a way that's very, very valuable, very useful, and very hyper-focused and targeted to a subset of people that you really want to talk to. So I think experientially, you're seeing data becoming an extremely valuable component, and you're really seeing the bespoke, customized activations that make the consumer the brand ambassador. 2 wins for brands that I think is going to be the wave of the future here.
Speaking of customized brand activation, I remember the day when you and I were standing next to the Stanley Cup in 2012. They had the cup over at Staples Center, and Russell invited me over, and we took a great picture together after the Kings won their first Stanley Cup in 2012. And experientially speaking, it was a wonderful experience, and I still have that picture of me and you, buddy. So thank you for that great response there. Michael, I'm going to send it back to you for this one, revolving around short form content and how it's consumed greater and greater these days. Basically, attention spans, including myself, are shorter and shorter. And Gabe mentioned it earlier. With the impact and this interest level not being where it is and being scattered, how do we go about like building a feature film, and how do we explain for the fact that we still need bigger things when the attention span is so short these days?
Yes, there is. It's going both ways. I think the two can live very well together. Short form is more along the lines about like sharing quick experiences. People are Snapchatting or doing TikToks to share the moment that they're having right now. I think long form or feature films are always going to have a place. It's where the shift is going to come is in the distribution of that film. There's more streaming services. There's more different ways to do it. The production of the films, Netflix is in the production of feature films. A lot of the stuff Lionsgate is doing, like you said, video on demand. It's just how the content with the increased acceptance of 5G, and people will be able to download things faster. That experience at home, well, I can't see watching the new James Bond movie on my 55-inch TV versus, the IMAX, but people will do it, and and it will be consumed. Disney Plus, who would have thought? I mean, it's not even a year old, and they have released, I believe, 10 feature films on Disney Plus, and they've launched 7 new series. The consumption is there. People are still going to consume that product. It's just the distribution of it. And I believe right now, I just read some COVID facts, like post-COVID, about 18% of the population, when they said, what's the first thing, what do you miss the most? About 18% of the population was like going to the movie theaters. There's just that safety issue that Russell addressed earlier, the fact that people have to feel comfortable, but the desire is there still. TikTok, Snapchat, Facebook video, Instagram stories, these are just ways to get, a great way for brands just to communicate quick snippets of information in a very consumable manner. So I think feature films are always going to be of interest. Content's king. I go to the old thing. And what I really like is all the distribution. I mean, the fact that Schitt's Creek on Netflix won the most Emmys, I believe. It's just a different distribution platform that people are getting used to and are learning to consume video through it. So I think it's still there. It's just the distribution of it, and being smart on how you distribute the product is really what's driving everything.
I 100% agree with you there. And the greatest thing about that, and Nicole knows that no matter how you're going to release the film or the project, there's still going to be marketing behind that project. Yep. And I know Gabe's been working with Disney on some various films recently, and short content to market the film, different ways to put out the trailer these days, different way to take content from the film, and a brand can put it out as original content for that brand too. So there's a lot of extensions, and marketing these projects will not change. Just the different ways of releasing these projects will change in the future. So Thank you for that input. That was really valuable. Now I'm going to ask everyone a question, and this is, I think everyone would like to answer this question. When COVID finally is, on its way to being under control, and we're back out. Personally, what have you missed in your personal life that you really want to get back to? And I'm going to go through each one of you, and you can give me a quick answer on this one. But what are you missing, and what do you want to get back to after COVID? I'll start with you, Gabe.
Jimmy, I think it's really just being with people, whether it is at a concert, whether even if it's a work dinner or just, having a creative meeting. I think being in person and that magic that comes from that, through that inhuman connection and where it will go, I think is what I've missed the most.
I agree with you right there, for sure. Michael, how about you, bud?
I'm going to have to agree with Gabe. It's like getting back into social groups, and I love live music. It's killing me. It's killing me not being able just to go to a small club and hear a band or to a large venue. But yeah, being out with people and that social interaction, and even going back to work and being with people I'm looking forward to that.
I think you're one of the few on that going back to work thing there, Michael. But
well, I'm going back to work to see the people I work with.
I love that. I'm just giving you a hard time. And I agree with you on the live music. Nicole and I saw one of Tom Petty's last concerts at the Hollywood Bowl, and just being at that show was unbelievable. And what an artist Tom Petty was, and I can't wait for live music again. Russell, I know that you're digging being the home chef and cooking these fancy chicken parm dinners every night in Westchester, California, and having a little glass of vino while you're cooking. But what are you going to miss, or what do you miss the most about COVID, and what do you want to get back to as soon as you can?
I think it was said, just the human interaction. I think, we work in a relationship business, and being able to break bread with people across the table, there's nothing greater than that to build a relationship. And as great as technology is for us to be able to do this virtually, being able to be inside a building, being able to negotiate deals and build relationships organically, over a dinner, over a drink, is just something that I long for, and I've obviously missed, because it's what I've been able to do, thankfully, with AEG for a number of years. And then personally, I miss being able to go to my kids' games. I have 3 young children that have been benched per se from all of their sporting events, and that was a big thing that my wife and I have been able to witness and watch them grow and watch them excel in sports, and just having them be home as often as much as they are. I just wish they were able to be out on the field of play, whatever that is, a little bit more, and be able to watch them grow and mature. Because doing that with friends and doing that through sports is something that I've saw such a growth with my kids, and I want them to be able to do that as quickly as possible and get back to that sense of normalcy, because our kids need that as well.
I can't wait for that to happen as well. I have a 16-year-old and an 18-year-old, and they need to be out in the retail trade. They need to be experiencing life. So thank you for that input, and your comment about friends out in the out in the world. And we have a client at Reach Agency, Anheuser-Busch, and they have a old phrase, making friends is our business. And I think we're all in that reality. Nicole, what do you think?
Well, I echo everybody's sentiments. I mean, just being around with people, just from a business perspective, from a personal perspective, I really miss live music. I mean, I've got my sitting right behind my poster here, so that I can't wait for that to happen. And really, it's the human interaction, it's the human experience. Same, I have a young son as well. I'll also just throw in travel. I was traveling a lot, personal and for business. So you always feel like you're, burning the wick at both ends, so to speak, when you're on the road a lot. But then when you're not on the road, you really kind of start missing it. So, just going out in new places and experiencing new things. So it's all of those things combined. It's been an interesting journey. It's been, lovely, but it's also, I'm eager to kind of get back. I'll tell you the one thing I'm not missing is my 2-hour commute every day into the office. So that part we can keep.
I agree with that commute. I don't miss jumping on the 405 freeway these days. And great response, Nicole, and thank you very much. I'm going to ask the group one last question and take a little time on this one. And it revolves around the city of Los Angeles and how LA is considered to be the world's entertainment capital, basically. From silent films back in the day to when they started talking to the advent of full feature colored films and the advent of CGI and social media now. This permeates in Los Angeles, and Los Angeles has been the capital of entertainment. Why do you think LA just continues to be the capital of entertainment? I'll start with you, Russell, on this one.
Yeah, I think from my perspective, it comes down to the diversity of people that we have in our city. We have we have so many people, such an amazingly diverse group of people that live in the city of Los Angeles that come from all walks of life. So we get to learn from each other, and we get to understand so many amazing and rich cultures here. And that continues to be something that creates such a vibrancy in the city of LA. And then from our standpoint, from AEG, we are in an unprecedented position where there are, I think it's 11 professional sports teams in the city of Los Angeles. We have to be on our game every single day. And we need to create experiences that are second to none, because as you guys know, especially here in Los Angeles, you have so many different options, whether it be sports, whether it be live entertainment, whether it's going to see movies, going to the theater. There's so many things that you can do here in Los Angeles that gives and lends people different experiences every single night. So I think that it allows us to be competitive in a good way, to try to make sure that we're retaining our fan bases and trying to grow them in a unique way. And we're able to do that in a city that is extremely aggressive and doesn't let us sleep when it comes to experiences and live events. So why we are who we are is because of who we have been for the past, decades before, and we need to just kind of carry that torch into the future. So I'm extremely appreciative to be a part of the live experience and live event space in Los Angeles, because it truly is second to none anywhere in the world. So yeah.
Well, you and I are both native Los Angeles guys, basically, and the diversity and how beautiful our city is, and we want to thank AEG for bringing us such great opportunities and such a great place to experience the diversity and the beauty of our city with the LA Kings and Staples Center and what all you do at AEG. So thank you very much, Russell. Nicole, what do you think about Los Angeles being the capital of entertainment, and what do you love about LA?
I mean, I'm a movie girl, so I came from Colorado straight into Hollywood. I mean, nothing but, film business is rooted here. It's the home. I mean, that is, I would say almost the crown jewel is Hollywood. This is where it all happens. All the magic happens here and in Los Angeles for the film industry, for sure. So I think it's going to always continue to be that way. There's, all the major studios are here. It's just the wonderful city and what it brings. It's the heart and soul of the film business, for sure.
Beautiful. Well, thank you, Nicole. I remember as a kid, I grew up really close to where you live right now. And we used to drive over the hill from Studio City over to Hollywood Boulevard to see movies like Jaws and Star Wars at the Grauman's Chinese Theater. And what a great experience that was. And that introduced me to film and the love of film. And the industry that you work in is very rewarding, very difficult. And I know you do a wonderful job over at Lionsgate, and I want to thank you for joining us today as well. Gabe, what do you think about the city of Los Angeles? I know you're from LA as well.
Yep. If I had to give it one word answer, I'd say it's the weather. But I think, look, it's the community and the culture of creativity. It's being close to film studios, actors. You know, it's being in an environment that fosters that and celebrates that. And look, you know, a lot of people said with like YouTubers or social media stars that, you know, it wouldn't be in LA, but every big YouTuber, every new creator, they all wind up back in LA anyway. So it is this mecca for creativity and entertainment that way, and it's part of our culture. So
Well, thank you, Gabe, for joining us today. It is a mecca, and Los Angeles is a special place, and we really, really appreciate what you do at Reach Agency and you joining us today.
thank you.
Last but not least, Michael, let me hear your insight on LA and LA being the capital of entertainment.
Yes. And I've been working with LA now for about 4 to 5 years and really got to know the city. And it's what you've all kind of addressed. I mean, the diversity and it's something about LA, and I'm going to put the weather in there and the diverse cultures. It just sparks creativity. I mean, when we go out and we see a lot of the neighborhoods, the murals on the walls, the people, just the music scene, it's just a place where people gravitate to because of all the things out there, the opportunities, the cultures, and the weather. I mean, you can't have outdoor venues in Chicago for 6 months of the year. So it's just really the street performers. It's just a great place. It's just a great place, and it's just a great spark that I've noticed every time I've gone out there. I was last week I was out. We were there for meetings, and I was in Hollywood, and just walking by some street performers and stuff. People out there, it's what it's about.
Thank you, Michael. Our city is special, and thank you very much for joining us today from Chicago. And you guys got me talking about LA. I may take off the shirt and grab the board and head over the hill and hit the water after this meeting's done. So thank you very much, Michael. I appreciate that. Okay, let's bring this session to a close. First of all, I want to thank each and every one of you, which I just did, our panelists for their insights, perspectives on the discussion today. The Los Angeles Tourism Board also has created different panels around economic impact and major sporting events coming to our city over the next couple of years. Quite a few of them, from Super Bowls to All-Star games to US Open golf to soccer events. We have a plethora of huge events coming to LA over the next few years. And there's a panel discussion on that, as well as there's another panel discussion on the subject of tackling the challenge of cultural equity as well. So I encourage you to check out these panels as well. And thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your day.